Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a truly fascinating journey. We are going to look at nearly a century of World Cup outcomes, pulling our insights directly from the historical data tables to see what the numbers actually tell us about the global game. We're stripping away the opinions, ignoring the hype, and letting the historical record speak completely for itself. We want to see exactly how this massive tournament has unfolded since the very beginning. Okay, let's dive into this. So, which nation truly owns the World Cup? It's a question fans argue about endlessly, right? It's easy to have a favorite team, but to get the real answer, we have to look at the hard evidence. We're going to dramatize the raw data today to discover the true historical giants of the pitch. We want to know who's dominated, who's fallen short, and what patterns actually emerge when you look at the entire recorded history of soccer's greatest prize. Section 1. The Kings of Soccer. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is exactly how much of the tournament's history is monopolized by just three entities. Brazil absolutely leads the pack with 5 total championships, one across the decades in 1958, 1962, 1970, 1994, and 2002. Right behind them, tied for second place, are Germany, which includes their history as West Germany, with 4 titles, and Italy, also standing tall with 4 titles of their own. You add those up, and these 3 nations account for a massive 13 championships combined since that first tournament in 1930. That is an absolute stranglehold on the trophy. But, these giants aren't entirely alone at the top. Argentina is the next closest challenger to that elite club. They boast 3 titles in their history. They claimed the ultimate prize in 1978, followed that up with another victory in 1986, and, well, as the data from the most recent tournament shows, there are defending champions, having taken the crown in 2022. So they are actively closing the gap on that historic top 3. However, when we zoom in on just the last 2 decades of data, from 2002 to 2022, the narrative shifts in a really compelling way. What we see is this fascinating rotation of power. Across the last 6 tournaments, we've had 6 completely different champions. Brazil in 2002, Italy in 2006, Spain taking their first ever recorded title in 2010, Germany in 2014, France in 2018, and finally, Argentina in 2022. So while the historical data shows a massive concentration at the top, the recent data proves the modern tournament is incredibly competitive. The crown is constantly changing hands. Section 2. Heartbreak and silver medals. 3. It's a simple number, right? But in our data set, it carries some serious weight. This number represents the Netherlands' runner-up finishes. According to the historical tables, the Netherlands reached the absolute final match in 1974, again in 1978, and once more in 2010. Yet, if you look back at our champions list, their name just isn't there. 3 trips to the final, 3 silver medals, and not a single championship win. It's an incredible display of consistency, but tinged with ultimate heartbreak. But they aren't the only ones intimately familiar with second place. Let's look at Germany and West Germany again. We already established they're 4-time champions. But get this, they also have 4 second-place finishes on their record in 1966, 1982, 1986, and 2002. It's a staggering statistic. It literally means they've been the runner-up exactly as often as they've been the champion. They are almost perpetually in the final match, experiencing both the absolute highest highs and the lowest lows the tournament has to offer. And this brilliantly illustrates a similar phenomenon with Argentina. Across their appearances in the final match, they have exactly 3 wins in 78, 86, and 22, and exactly 3 devastating losses, which occurred in 1930 against Uruguay, 1990 against West Germany, and 2014 against Germany. It's a perfect 50-50 split of extreme triumph and crushing defeat across the decades. Section 3. Timelines in tourney streaks. In nearly a century of competition, defending your title is almost statistically impossible. Becoming a back-to-back champion is a feat accomplished only twice in the entire dataset. Italy pulled it off first, winning in 1934 and successfully defending the title in 1938. Then it took decades before it happened again, with Brazil winning in 1958 and repeating the magic in 1962. And since then, not a single nation has managed to win 2 in a row. It's just incredibly rare. Now, as we scan the early chronology, there is this massive, mysterious 12-year gap in the data between Italy's win in 1938 and Uruguay's return to glory in 1950. Due to the outbreak of World War II, the tournament was paused, entirely disrupting the early momentum of the event. It really stands out on the chronological record. Filling out the rest of the chronological picture requires us to look at the bronze medalists. Our data tables show a consistent group of nations that regularly finish in third place. Sure, giants like Germany, Brazil, and France appear here, but what's really fascinating is how nations like Sweden, Poland, and Croatia pop up repeatedly in this column. For instance, Poland took third in 1974 and 1982, and Sweden in 1950 and 1994, despite neither nation ever actually holding the championship title. They're essentially the consistent dark horses of the historical record.
Section 4. Europe versus South America.
When you categorize every single champion by their home continent, a startling truth is revealed. It's basically an intercontinental tug-of-war. The winner's circle is exclusively split between just two continents, Europe and South America. On the European side, we've got Italy, Germany, France, Spain, and England. On the South American side, we have Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay. According to the data, there are 0 champions from North America, 0 from Africa, 0 from Asia, and 0 from Oceania. It is an entirely closed club.
So the crucial point is, when you tally up every single victory since 1930, we see an incredibly tight race for overall dominance. European nations hold a slight edge with 12 total championships, while South American nations are right on their heels with 10 total championships. It's a nearly even split, proving that the ultimate prize is essentially a perpetual battle between these two specific regions of the globe.
Section 5. The Road to 2026. Our sources already highlight some massive, highly anticipated matchups scheduled for July of 2026. On July 14th, we'll see France versus Spain, 2 modern European champions going head-to-head. And the very next day, on July 15th, England faces Argentina. That's a huge cross-continental showdown between 2 historic giants. These aren't just any teams. These are the very nations that have defined the data tables for the last century. The historical titans will literally be clashing on the pitch once again.
In 2026, will a new nation break the geographic stronghold, or will the historical giants continue their century of dominance? It's something to really ponder as you digest the data we just explored. The tables give us the history, but the future is completely unwritten. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.